my name is Joy, and today I'm going to be talking about life in Ukraine, specifically life of a foreigner or a student in Ukraine. So before you travel to any country, definitely you need to know like a few things about the country. And for example, you need to know the language, or you need to know like more about immigration, maybe about the food, because you might not like the food that's in a foreigner's country. So you have to be sure about the things that you're going to encounter when you get into the country. So I'm going to specifically talk about students, when you're coming from any country to come and study in Ukraine. First of all, I think it's a very good idea to learn a little bit about the language. Like, you should know how to say a few things in the Ukrainian language, like how to say my name, or how to say I need this, or I want to buy this. It will come in handy, like when you're at the airport, or when you're at the immigration, because maybe they might ask you, what are you coming to do here? And you should just probably know how to say study or tour or something, so you don't get yourself in a bit of a mess. Anyway, or you can have a translator on your phone, the Google Translator or any kind of translator on your phone. That's very, very, very good. And secondly, I'd like to talk about immigration. So before you come here, make sure all your documents are legit. I'm being serious, because sometimes you might pay someone to do your documentation and they're going to do a whole lot of mess, and you get over here and they're like, all your documents are not correct, or it's not enough, and you probably have to go back home and you waste all the money that you spent to come over here. So make sure they're all legit. I think you should have a few passport pictures with you. When I was coming, they asked for my passport pictures. I don't know about you, it can come in handy. And you should have a little money on YouTube, by the way. But if they ask you for money, don't give it to them. Anyway, and with immigration too, they don't really bother you over there if everything is okay. Be relaxed, don't feel tense. Don't act like someone is chasing you. Just be yourself when you come to the immigration. If they say something and you don't understand, don't talk. Just tell them you don't understand Russian, and they might find someone who speaks English, or who can help, be the intermediate person if you don't have the translator. And the next thing I'm going to talk about is schooling over here. So when I was coming here, at least my sister studied over here, so I had the privilege of knowing a few things about Ukraine before coming. And it's not like Ghana. I'm from Ghana, by the way, and it's not like studying in Ghana. You have to do most of the researches on your own, honestly, trust me. And they might give you lectures, but most of the time you have to prepare before going to class on your own. You have to read several pages before going, because when you go to the classroom, the teacher is not coming to teach you. He's coming to ask you based on what you learned. And sometimes it's very hard, because I'm studying in the English medium, and it's hard to find the books that you need, because they have a lot of Russian books. I'm a medical student. They have a lot of Russian books, but they don't really have all the books translated into English. And most of the teachers actually learned with the Russian books. And so it's sometimes they want things from those kind of books, and the things you find on the internet is not the exact thing. So you have to do a lot of research. But the advantage is that they usually have small people in one group, maximum 12 people in a group. So the teacher has time for each and every one of you when you're studying. Maybe you might be doing business. I don't know about business though, but I'm sure any course you want to do in this country, you would have to study on your own most of the time. And the food. Okay, so with the food, I don't really like Ukrainian food. I like spicy food, the African jollof, the wache, the kenkey you can buy by the roadside. Trust me, you cannot find that in Ukraine. Their food is really salty most of the time. I won't be lying to you. Their food is really, really salty. But you can find a few things like rice. Maybe you might be someone who's okay with any kind of food, okay? So maybe you'll be able to eat anything you find on the street. There's junk food though. There's McDonald's, there's KFC, there's pizza. But apart from that, are you really going to be dependent on that all your life in Ukraine? No. So if you're someone who doesn't know how to cook, please stay close to your mommy before coming over here. You need to learn how to cook a few dishes. And maybe you like local dishes. You can bring some spices, or some food stuff, so you can maybe once in a while you can eat the McDonald's, once in a while you can eat their borscht. That's what they call it, this kind of soup, borscht. So you can eat that, and then most of the time you can eat your African food. And we also have some African malls over here where you can buy your African food if you run out of stock, like Bam Mall. Anyway, and the next thing I'm going to be talking about is the weather. It's winter right now and you have to bundle up. It gets really, really cold over here, like minus 30 degrees sometimes. But during summer, it's really hot. Like I can barely live during summer over here. I have to keep the windows open or probably the air conditioner on the entire time. But during winter, it gets really, really cold. So if you're coming, you have to know what time of the season that you're coming to Ukraine. If it's during summer, it might be a little warm, but you should have like a sweater on just in case you get here and it's a little bit cold, because sometimes when it rains in summer, it just gets cold all of a sudden. And you can get a few sweaters in Ghana. I don't know where you can find them, but I'm sure in your country you can find them in different places. And if you're coming in winter, you need to have warm underwears, socks, gloves, the winter jacket, they call it kutka over here. And yeah, that's basically it, I think. Oh, they have 4 seasons. They have the winter, the summer, the spring and fall, but usually I think it's just winter and summer to me, because it's really cold during fall, it's really cold during spring. I wear my winter jackets all the way from spring, fall, winter, so it's like I wear winter jacket from fall till spring, and then summer I just wear my summer clothes. Whew. Okay, now let's talk about the money. Money is very, very important. Like, you need money to survive anywhere. And depending on your currency, maybe if the kind of money you guys spend in your country is very, very good, you might have a comfortable life here. If you're from the US, the dollar, you spend the dollar. If you're from Europe, maybe you have euros or pounds or something. If that's where you're from, I think you'd be really comfortable in Ukraine. But if you're from an African country where the money, the economy is really bad and the money is worth nothing, you have to be really, really, really careful about how to spend in Ukraine. You have to make sure you budget all the time. For example, the Ghana city right now I think is equal to $5, but the dollar in Ukraine is maybe $1 is like 27 grivens. I think I have a few currencies over here I can show you. This is the 200 grivens. We have the 100 grivens too. This is what it looks like. This is 50, this is 20, I think. There's more, there's a 500, there's 10 grivens, there's 5 grivens, there's 1 grivens, there's 2 grivens. And you have to be careful to at the airport. Maybe you might call a taxi and they might tell you you have to pay like $200, they're lying. It's not that expensive. Maximum, maybe from the airport to the main city, the center of the city, you might have to pay like maximum 300 grivens. That's maybe, you can calculate, I already told you the exchange rate. Transportation. I think the transportation here is better than Ghana, to be honest. There's the subway, or they call it the metro over here. You can have buses, tramway, that can take you to all the places you want to go to. But the metro is not in every city in Ukraine. It's, I think you can get it in Kiev, Lviv, and probably Kharkov, right? Yes, and you can easily get to places from one place to another. So don't usually spend a lot of money on taxis unless you don't know where you're going. But thanks to Google Maps, you can use Google Maps wherever you're going. So you can use the metro, and then when you get to a closer place, you take a bus from there. That would save you a lot of money, especially when you're a student. Like, it's really, really hard. Like, you know your parents are suffering back home and you don't have to hassle them all the time for money. Give me money, give me money. You have to know how to spend. And let's talk about the culture a little bit, culture of Ukraine. Honestly, I think Ukrainians are cultural people, maybe just a little bit. And usually they're not really open. They look like they're very, very angry most of the time, or really fierce, and you might be afraid to approach them. But the moment you find a common ground, they open up and they talk a lot. and they're going to be talking in your language, you're going to be like, what the hell is going on? I usually just smile the entire time if I don't understand what you're talking about. I'm like, okay. And then we're done. And the racism, when we came out first, it was a little bit high, but it's getting better now since they joined Europe, and they speak English more often nowadays, like, so you have to be careful with what you say outside. At first, when we came, we knew most people didn't understand English, so we just keep talking and saying whatever we wanted. But now, most of the students learn English language, even the older people too. So it's like they kind of like relate to us more. Like most of the time, when they see us, they want to try to practice their English with you, so you have to be nice to them sometimes. So that's just it. And no matter where you are, there's always going to be someone who's going to be racist around you. You have to be ready for that. So I think it's how you actually carry yourself. If you look like someone who deserves a lot of respect, they're going to give you a lot of respect and not give you any crap. But if you don't look like someone who's respectable, definitely everyone can just walk over you and tell you whatever they want. And finally, what I want to talk about is Ukraine. Like, what you think is part of Europe and what you're expecting to see. I was actually disappointed when I came here. When I heard Ukraine, I Googled it and I saw a lot of golden roofs. I was like, oh, that looks so fancy and everything. They only take pictures of the nice places. To be honest, I think it's like the village of Europe because it's still developing. It's not that perfect. Yeah, you might find a few nice places to take nice pictures with, which I usually do. But most of the time, it's just boring, especially during fall. I mean, after the leaves fall, it's like really ugly. But when it's all colorful, that time is a little bit okay. But most of the time, I think Ukraine is not like Germany, it's not like the US, it's not like France, it's not all fancy. There are a lot of ugly places, like the apartments look really old. And yeah, I think that's pretty much most of the important things you have to know before coming to Ukraine. So if you have any questions, you can type them below and I'll try to answer all of your questions to my knowledge. And there'll be more videos, there'll be more subsequent videos coming up about like all the things I mentioned into details, like the language, immigration, especially about immigration, because most people usually have problems with that. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Once again, my name is Joy and thank you for watching this video.